All right, I'm Laura Ingraham. This is the Ingraham Angle from Washington tonight. Between a rock and a hard place, that's the focus of tonight's angle. Now, they're calling him a stand-in for Biden in 2024, a political star waiting in the wings who sure has been acting like a candidate lately.
Going on the road to take the fight to states where freedom is most under attack. So I'm here in Montgomery, Alabama. We have a lot of work to do to build a movement to counter what's happening in red states across this country. I'm here in Sarasota, Florida at New College, and we're here just to remind everybody of what's happening in Florida and other states like it.
Of course, as he seeks to raise his national profile, he's been playing very coy with the press.
Because it's not my ambition, it's not the direction that I'm leaning into. It's not the moment.
So one way to answer that question is, I will never run for president of the United States. Can you say that?
Yeah, I have no interest.
Under any circumstances would you get in this primary?
No.
First, remember, as governor of the most populated state in the country, it's easy to get lots of favorable press coverage. But when you're running for national office, people actually want to really look at your record. Donald Trump and Ron DeSantis can genuinely point to policies that worked. But Newsom? According to the Public Policy Institute of California, which is nonpartisan, 66% believe there are bad times for California ahead in the new economy year. 62% think the state is already in a recession. 61% say they're experiencing financial hardship. And 45% are worried about not being able to pay their mortgage or their rent. Gosh, no wonder why 4 out of 10 Californians are now seriously considering leaving the state. But wait, if Newsom became president, where'd we all move to? I mean, Poland, Hungary, anyone? Where would we go? The whole country would empty out. Now, extrapolating from Newsom's personal popularity in a state run by Democrats, and he's pretty popular there, extrapolating from that to viability for national office over Joe Biden is unwise. First, remember the real reason Biden was the nominee in 2020. He was the only Democrat still alive who the party could use to mask how radical they'd become. Remember, the party picked Biden over Bernie, Buttigieg, Kamala, etc. None were acceptable to the masses, but Biden was. And even with his dreadful economic record, to many, Biden remains endearing, even reassuring. Wearing his banker-like suits from the 1950s, his aviator shades, and his perfect pocket squares, he jogs memories of the Democrat Party of yore. And when he reminisces about the good old days, millions of Democrats do too.
My dad used to have an expression, and I swear to God this is what he would say, not a joke. He said, Joey, remember, a job's about a lot more than a paycheck. It's about your dignity.
I had an Irish grandfather named Ambrose Finnegan, and he used to say that when you give a toast and you don't have any alcohol in your glass, you must do it with your left hand. You think I'm kidding? I'm not.
No, I don't think you're kidding, just increasingly enfeebled. 68% of Americans are now fretting about Joe Biden's mental lucidity and his physical health, which includes 43% of Democrats were worried about it. That's up from just 21% of Democrats just 3 years ago. Now, one main argument against Biden as the nominee is that he's incapable of explaining his record and the Democrat agenda.
I signed into law a once-in-a-generation investment, over $1.2 trillion.
People got laid off. So did everything from refrigerators to cell phones. All told, we've created more than 12,000 jobs since I took office.
Yet at the same time, a big argument for Biden is that he is incapable of explaining his record and the Democrat agenda. Now, let me explain what I'm talking about. Democrats know that there are huge advantages to having a figurehead who can barely talk as their nominee because the press won't bother asking Biden any hard questions. Sure, because they're biased, but also because they know it's pointless. It's like talking to a piece of styrofoam.
Our Office of Management Budgets played a major role, along with Mitch Landrieu and our infrastructure coordinator. But the Secretary Blinken had a great trip to China, having railway to go all the way across the southern two-thirds, from the Atlantic Ocean to the Indian Ocean, in Africa.
Now, they actually prefer that to a Democrat trying to justify the party's fringe race and gender obsession or defending his party's handling of the border. It's really indefensible. It's better to have the mumbling Biden. Certainly in voters in places like Virginia or Georgia, they just want an economy that works for the middle class. They don't want lies about how Bidenomics is working.
Makes good sense, Bidenomics, right? It kind of flows off the tongue really well. Certainly it's a vision, right? It's a vision about growing the economy from the middle out, the bottom up.
It's a vision with no results. Now, as bad as that was, it's still better than Joe trying to make the case that you're better off than you were when he took office.
Over the past 2 years, we've gotten an awful lot done together. We got a lot done together. So let's keep it going. We have the most vibrant economy in the world right now, in the world.
Well, no one believes this, which is why, given the emergency, the Democrats have now broken the glass and dragged Barack Obama out. According to Politico, Obama's been meeting with the next generation Democrats like AOC and Maxwell Frost. Obama even showed up for lunch at the White House today. And while it was closed to the press, we can only assume he got a hero's welcome like last time. And anytime Barack and Joe are in the same room, you know what happens.
Thank you. Vice President Biden, Vice President. That was a joke.
It wasn't a joke. And you see how small Biden looks next to Obama, who's a really good politician? Biden always looks diminished when Barack Obama's on the scene. Now, other Biden alternatives, J.B. Pritzker, of course, of Illinois, Gretchen Whitmer of Michigan, they're going to run into the same problems that Newsom will face if they ever threw their hat in the ring. Of course, in a class of unlikable and untalented, all by herself, Kamala Harris, who was always trusted with the most important assignments.
Happy Pride, Madam Vice President. Have you ever been to Stonewall? I am so excited. Well, don't be embarrassed. I'm going to tell you the banger of the summer, okay? Yeah, okay. That you need to play for your people, and they're going to love it. Okay. Everybody's going to go crazy. Okay.
I like it.
Yes.
I like
this is the song of the summer, okay?
And then there's the laugh. Enough said. So Democrats really are between a rock and a hard place here. They'd probably like to dump Biden, but for better or worse, they're stuck with him. Even though the hardcore activist base of the Democrat Party hates most American traditions, our history, and our founders, there are still Democrats who haven't drunk the neo-Marxist Kool-Aid. And there are millions of independents who just want things to go back to normal, which doesn't include trans peacocks parading around naked near little kids. And if you're scratching your head wondering how Biden could still mobilize any voters, remember this: he'll do only carefully choreographed campaign events.
Let's spread the faith, folks. Thank you all so very, very much. Thanks.
God bless America.
Okay, and
God bless America. Thank you. We'll go down on this. We'll go down here on this.
When do we play that game where we throw the big ball back to each other? Plus, most Americans don't follow politics like you do, and they don't even listen to what Biden actually says. So from a distance, Biden can still pass as someone from the old Democrat Party, the one that didn't hate America, that didn't think being a devout Catholic is a hate crime, and that thought criminals actually should be prosecuted, not coddled. Right now, it's like buying a box full of air. Nothing inside is worth anything, but it's all they got. And that's The Angle.
Hey, Sean Hannity here. Hey, click here to subscribe to Fox News YouTube page and catch our hottest interviews and most compelling analysis. You will not get it anywhere else.